I'm Nick Burns from the Salt Lake Community College Division of Communication and Performing Arts. And today on the show, we welcome State Representative Eric Hutchings and we welcome State Senator Luz Escamilla. Our topic, the 2017 Utah legislative session. To some, it's been a year to sing, "We are the champions," but to others, another one bites the dust. So let's get into it. Representative Hutchings, I'll start with you. Republican, District 38, Kearns, so west of Taylorsville, south of West Valley, your neck of the woods?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Take the speed skating oval and just draw a really big circle.
Big circle around that?
Yeah.
So I've been out there to skate. Very nice. How do your constituents in District 38 feel about how the session ended up?
I think pretty well.
Yeah?
One of our really big topics out there is education.
Okay.
And while we're by no means done, it's been a good couple years. We put some good new resources to it. Had some really good conversations, I think, this year around accountability and school grading and things like that. Quite frankly, probably one of the most open conversations, one of the most intense conversation years we've had in a long time, especially at the committee level. Went really well.
Open, intense?
Yeah.
That's not, you make it sound like that's not how it is.
Normally, well, and a lot of times, sometimes it'll be intense, but it's not towards a productive end. And this time it really was. It was very targeted and it was good. It was one of those where they decided to pick a really big topic, accountability as it relates to teachers and schools and school grading.
And it's
really
that's
try
very
to make
passionate for people.
Oh, it's a huge issue for people, yeah. Because teachers, quite frankly, it's where everything starts. It really is. And they have such a massive impact that they got to feel the passion. And unfortunately, we've had way too many people in education that just feel demoralized. They feel like they're not making a difference. They feel like there's way too much heat. And somehow we've got to get that sense of appreciation and resources. And I think the last couple of years have been a decent effort in that area. It's been hundreds of millions of new dollars in the last 2 years. It's good.
I want to get back to that notion of resources, but Senator Escamilla, Democrat, District 1, I'd say north of West Valley, maybe out to Magna and up to what, Bountiful, Woods Cross? The airport?
Salt Lake County, Davis, yes, airport, Rose Park, Glendale, Pepper Grove.
Okay, and what about in your neck of the woods? What do people think about how things came out?
So education, I think, better than previous years, not too, good enough, I guess. Still concerned about funding, especially issues related to achievement gap. But you're right, I agree with Representative Hutchings. The conversation about accountability was there. A lot of bills, which makes it very difficult for that committee. When you have more than 1/3 of the bills on education, it's a big thing they have to carry. So most of the bills on education were moving slowly because there were so many in committee. Funding, the Senate Democrats and the House Democrats, we brought a proposed budget, balanced budget with a 4.5 increase versus a 4% we end up doing. So we still felt there was enough funding to do a little bit more.
Okay.
But we're getting there. And, our biggest concern at this point in terms of education is we have not funded the growth since 2009. So we're still behind, on growth, and that's very important. We need to take care of growth, and I think that will put us in a better place, not where we need to be, but better.
So really we're dropping, if we're not covering growth, we're actually falling farther behind.
Correct.
And what are we talking about? 5, 6, 7,000 new students a year?
More than that.
More than that.
Yeah.
A lot more than that.
12,000.
12,000 new students
Closer
a year.
to double that, yeah. Maybe even more in some areas.
Correct.
Just plain wow.
So it's a lot, and it comes with a growth. And part of the conversation on education is the potential of having a ballot initiative, and that was also part of the conversation. And we had a good discussion, and I think now there's more clarity on the process to get an initiative on the ballot if we have to address more income taxes. How that, and the public will vote on that, right? That's important.
You're talking about our schools now, supported
Correct.
by many business people, supported by many very wealthy business people in the state. And again, I wonder how all this movement on education, did that ballot initiative sort of launch you into this more intense open discussions?
I think it definitely brought the spotlight.
Okay.
And it always does. And I think it's behooving on us as elected officials to be really well informed on those issues. Where does the money come from? What's the best way to get it there? How do we keep it balanced between the other needs of the state? Because a huge percentage of our budget, 49% I think this year, and I may be off on that just a little bit. I'm not on that appropriations committee, but that's a lot of money. But it's between public ed and higher ed. But I think that's also where the interesting conversation started to happen, is the flow from starting kids off with a good start in elementary school, but all the way up and making sure they finish college.
Yeah.
And that was one of the really interesting things that happened this year.
K-16,
Yeah, literally K-12
Right.
is no longer the
conversation is K-16.
At very least K through 14,
Yeah.
speaking here at Salt Lake Community College, but K through 16, yeah.
Yep, that's how we're talking now, and I'm hoping that one day we could do preschool 16. A lot of the work I've done is on maternal health and that early childhood intervention piece, 0 to 3, because we know that return on investment is high if we start investing on those children, those babies.
And I mean, 12,000 new students a year, they're not paying taxes yet.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they will, and that's the whole point, is that we need them, well educated,
Yeah.
with
Future workforce.
great job skills. Yeah. So
Well,
the idea is that they're not just doing. You can't survive in this world on a service job. You just can't.
No,
And-
not unless you work 3 of them,
Yeah,
right? And, then,
yeah.
and if you're working 3 of them, you're not taking care of your
family,
3-year-olds.
your 3-year.
And
So, I mean,
anything we can do to help them get
Cyclical.
that skill set. And you're right, absolutely. In fact, the two of us are huge fans of that 11, 12, and then especially the 13 and 14 year.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can get them graduated out of high school, good things happen. If they fall out of high school, really bad things happen.
Well, that's
But you add even just those additional 2 years,
years
changes
is like-
everything.
mm-hmm.
It for everybody, for generations. It's a massive impact. But how many of them graduate? And this was the first year that we had a really, really intensive conversation about how do we incentivize institutions to make sure we don't just get them in, we get them out with a degree.
And get them out with not just social promotion, because the ACT people a few years ago did a study that half of all the graduates, high school graduates in Utah, weren't ready for the college math and
preparedness.
science they'd need anyway. So then you've shifted all that remedial work to the college level.
Correct.
Yeah, that's why that conversation going all the way up past
Accountability,
12 is a big deal.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it's a great conversation to have, and I'm really encouraged by it. I'm very optimistic. I think we're definitely headed in the right direction. Senator said not done, but
Yeah, we're getting there, but we're not close. I mean, and this is a little bit of our, where the Senate and House Democrats have been talking about education and our concern. But, good thing happened out of the conversation. One, the initiative, the ballot initiative potentially also brought the conversation of tax reform. We haven't had those conversations since 2005 with Governor Huntsman, and that flat tax that is not flat, which is a problem, right? We miss millions and millions of dollars. So now we're moving into a conversation during interim. We're going to be studying all the big tax incentives that we have and tax breaks that we give to corporations, and we have close to 100 of them. So we're not going to be addressing that during interim. It was hard to think of a huge tax reform initiative during the session at the last week, but that was the
Well, that's
conversation.
frightening. I mean,
It is. So I applaud our leadership in terms of saying, look, let's just look through, during the interim and start making some decisions for the future in the future legislative sessions.
So you're here as a senator, you're here as a representative. Do you think the House and the Senate are on the same page, even if there's differences between Republicans and Democrats? But
on the tax issue?
in terms of reforming tax and more money for education, you think you're all on the same page up on the Hill?
Not on everything. I mean, there's always dissonance, and that's great when you look at the two houses, the House and the Senate. On taxes, I don't think we were on the same page in terms of whether, bring it, back the food tax piece, sales tax on food.
Right.
That was a huge issue, and the Senate maybe was a little bit more comfortable, not the minority party in the Senate. I don't know, the House, I felt a little bit more resistance on the House, which we applaud them because we needed that resistance. We have concerns on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're both on the same page, though, as
Okay.
far as the need to look at it.
Recognizing the need.
Yeah, well, and it's not just education funding, because if you look at all the rest of government, we've had some pretty good growth in income tax and corporate income tax over the last couple of years. Very, very anemic growth in the rest of it. Which, when you look at it, all of our other social programs, because all of that income tax goes to education.
100%.
What do you do for the disability issues? What do you do for all of the people who need, I mean, you name it. It runs the courts, it runs law enforcement, it runs all of our
Prisons,
social
all of
services
that.
programs, all of our mental health programs. All of those are run out of everything else, and that has been very, very anemic. And so the question about reform? Is reform necessary? I think everybody's on the same page that we really need to figure that out, because we barely have enough money to give state employees a raise.
Thank you.
Much less make any kind of a significant impact in anything, you know. And is it good? Do we need to cut even further?
And we see teachers leaving, right,
Yes.
due to low wages. So you've got talented teachers who are, you know, I'm going to move to
Retention
Nevada,
problems, yeah.
whatever it is. So we need to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about higher education, because you mentioned that. And specifically, I want to talk about something that you did, Representative Hutchins, and that was support having higher education at the prison, which I think is pretty cool. So keep it tuned. We'll be back. We'll talk more about the Utah legislative session as it wrapped up. Thank you. Keep it tuned. We are back on Community Roundtable, talking with Representative Hutchins, talking with Senator Escamilla. So Representative Hutchins, you've long been involved in criminal justice reform. You ran a bill a couple of years ago that had a lot to do with I think, helping prisoners do better. Now we actually saw funding this session for higher education at the prison, which I think is totally cool.
Yeah, we started a bit of a pilot program, went very well. And thanks in large part to the excellent folks at Salt Lake Community College and just some passionate people who honestly care. And quite frankly, that's what we needed to get it started off. But the important thing to recognize about that is when you look at several of the risk factors that people deal with when they're in the criminal justice system, a lot of them have to do with the fact that they don't have an education and they don't have a job skill set. And so people get a little intense sometimes about the idea of, well, you go to jail and then voila, you get free college because you committed a crime. And that's not the point. The point is that we now know that if people are in the criminal justice system and they don't have life supporting skill sets, as soon as they get out, they're going to go back to the same thing.
What else are they going to do?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And the intention is not to give free college. That's not the point. The point is we got to reduce crime, and the best way to do that is to find skills, like I said, that there's a market for them. You know, they can get a job when they get out, and they're not going to be super high paying jobs, but they'll be supporting jobs. They'll be jobs that they can get out of crime, still, you know, be able to have a place to live, buy food. And you don't do that. You can't survive on a high school education anymore. You just can't. It's not possible.
And I saw a letter that a prisoner had written to communication professor who taught in this pilot program and will go back, that the student was quite sad because he got moved down to Gunnison, and we don't have it down there. So he had to give up his communication class, moving to Gunnison. Yeah,
we've got, it's a systemic change, which is pretty cool. We've proved that it works. Now we got to figure out how to roll it out. And that is one of the challenges. And it's very unfortunate that a lot of times if you're a good inmate, you get moved away to places. A lot of our programs, because they're intended to be long-term, they're focused in Draper. But Draper is more intense. It's our Supermax. It's
for the nasty people, right?
Yeah. So it's a little harder though to spread programs all over the state. But we'll sort it out. And the intent is find people that really are trying to get their life back on track. Give them the tools to do it, so we don't have to pay for them to be incarcerated again, and they're not breaking into your home and stealing your stuff again. And figure out how to do that statewide. And we will. It'll take us a little while, but man, we're off to an awfully good start. I'm very excited about it.
Well, 1 year pilot program, and now it's base funded to what, $300 and some thousand. So I mean, that's pretty good for 1 year.
Not bad.
Totally cool. So Senator Escamilla, I wanted to ask you about higher education funding. You sponsored SB 35, Veterans Tuition Gap.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So that's we made some cleanup amendments to to help more of our veterans, and we work very closely with the different universities and community colleges in our state. What we do is, I passed this bill in 2013, and we've been modifying it to get even more veterans involved and engaged. So what we were seeing in Utah especially is that we have a lot of our veterans that run out of their GI funding, you know, coming and after serving, and because many of them started family very young. So yeah, they were serving in our military, but at the same time they were having to put food on the table for their family. They were running out of the funding to finish school, and they were like a semester away or 2 semesters away. So this funding is to close that gap. And it's very specific. The universities, in this case, for example, Salt Lake Community College has through their own programs a capacity to pick and select who are those veterans, and it's being very effective. It's changing families impacting families and their what they can do when now they have that college degree in their hands. So it's been a great road, and we were able to, by changing 2 words, now we can serve more veterans. So this bill really was more of a cleanup component, but that will definitely open the door for more veterans to get help.
So Assistant Minority Whip, one of your positions up in the Senate, and you have to push through a bill to change 2 words to help some more veterans.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how. Well, a lot of the things we do is cleaning up that language, and what you realize is it was not lined up with the federal government language.
Okay.
So the moment you don't line it up, they're like, "I'm sorry, it doesn't qualify."
Yes.
And what we're trying to do is like, look, this was meant to be for those veterans. Let's make it happen. So we changed that, and that was a lot of help came from our higher education institutions, of course, Salt Lake Community College. That were there to say, yeah, our veterans are getting help, and we're at the end accomplishing what we need, which is more educated people in our state.
And just to brag, the Salt Lake Community College Veterans Center is nationally recognized for
As one
what
of
we
the
do
best,
here for
yes.
vets. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've seen there. I love it. And I just want to go back to, in terms of the prison, program, and with a new state prison, and I was at a meeting with different stakeholders, the type of technology that we're going to have in the new state prison. I mean, when you realize that many of our inmates have been there for a decade, they don't know how to use a computer. Now we're going to bring a certain type of technology to teach them and educate them and provide them those skills so that when they go out, they can actually be productive. Because like Representative Hutchings was saying, we don't give them the skills. They're all, recidivism is so high, and this will definitely help. So this type of funding for programs like, college credit classes and degrees is what really makes a difference.
And it sounds like there is this move to support that kind of thing, that just lock them up attitude seems to be waning a bit. If you're locked up for addiction or mental health issues, people are getting more help than they used to. I mean, it used to just be lock them up, right? And nobody thought about it after that. It's a huge change
in
Utah. It's a culture.
that.
It's a change in the culture of dealing with individuals that are dealing with mental health and substance abuse problems. And not only are they leaving, being incarcerated and going back into our communities, but even that sober living facilities and properties as they transition, because it's not just, hey, welcome to, good luck.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
here's $50.
Some of them, yeah, exactly. Some of them, I work with 2 companies that do amazing stuff with sober living facilities, and how structured it is and how they help them get jobs and they pay their own rent. But they're in those facilities maybe 6 months to a year. And when they're now, they feel secure and strong, and they've been around and they've been using, the transportation system and being employed and living in a community, in a society, they feel better and they can go and now do it. So, I mean, the success rate is huge, and we should be focusing on those type of programs that are evidence-based and the return on investment is high.
And it sounds like the House and the Senate both are on board with that. You're recognizing the return on investment, treating somebody's better than incarcerating someone. That kind of thing.
And we're in the 2nd year of that big reform actually being fully implemented.
Criminal justice reform.
And this year, the neat thing about it was that a big conversation started around the fact that a lot of those people have some very serious mental health issues that we never addressed before. You broke the law, you're getting incarcerated. That's the end of the story. This year, though, put our money where our intentions are, and there's going to be a lot more treatment than we've ever had before. In fact, it was one of the reasons why we were hoping to get that partial Medicaid expansion through, would have specifically helped to address that issue. And that's not over. That's still out there.
That's not over.
We're hoping to keep that pressure on, because if you've got somebody who struggles with a mental illness, you're not doing them any good. It's a cycle. We know it. We know they're going to come back. There's no question.
And there are plenty of folks with mental health problems who aren't getting any treatment for mental health that then fall into drugs and street crime
abuse.
to make up for what could be mental health that would
Correct.
help them, right? I mean,
No question.
Yeah.
They're
So
connected.
keep it tuned. This is Community Roundtable, talking with Senator Escamilla, talking with Representative Hutchings. We'll be back and talk more about the 2017 legislative session. Keep it tuned. We are back on Community Roundtable, talking with Senator Escamilla, talking with Representative Hutchings about the 2017 legislative session. Senator, it took you 4 years to get an anti-bullying bill through?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It's a great bill, and everybody starts saying that about their bills, but we just actually signed it. The governor had a signing of education bills, and he had 3 bills, and one of those was my bill. So does a couple of things. One, we actually revamp and address the definition of bullying. We're bringing hazing into the definition of bullying. with this new bill, and our last time we addressed bullying was in 2008. So we had the cyberbullying component now with bullying and hazing. And it really talks about intent, which I think at the end of the day, when you look at bullying and the distress that could cause physical harm, emotional distress, all of that is in this definition.
Suicide.
Teen suicide. So the reason why this was so important, I had the opportunity to be very close to a family that lost their son in 2012. He shot himself outside of a junior high, victim of bullying for years. It was very painful. So it took us this long to get here, and I, really in memory of David Fawn and what he went through in his family from Taylorsville, actually. And, just what came out of this bill is, one, we included now administration and staff to the definition. So now they will be also, part of this definition of bullying. So it's not only students, it's also staff and administration. Parents will be part of that solution as well. They have to be part of that, of incidents, whether they're the parent of the child that's being bullied or the perpetrator.
Okay. And so did this come with funding to hire those resources?
So let me tell you this. We've had already a place, they were supposed to be policies in place. Yes, there's actually federal funding attached to some of these components, but we were supposed to have a policy, and a study done by actually KSL in a month before my bill came up actually showed that only 30%, not that many school districts had their policies in place. So now we're going to be enforcing, making sure everyone has their policy in place, and children and parents and the administration and staff will be acknowledging that policy every single year.
It would really be nice when we could get to 20 students in a classroom, and then the teachers would know more what's going on.
Absolutely. Individually.
That'll take us a couple of years.
Well, and bullying's changed a little bit because you don't get to hide. Bullying doesn't end at the classroom door anymore. Bullying follows you home. Bullying follows you to your
social
community
media,
events.
yes.
It's
Online,
everywhere.
Yeah,
So your
cyberbullying.
phone.
You never get to leave. You can't leave the perpetrator behind anymore, and it becomes this perpetual, just never ending. And that's what makes it so dangerous at this point, is it's not just a classroom issue anymore.
Correct.
It may be in the classroom, but a lot of times it's not in the classroom anymore because it's so easy to spot. That a teacher can tell, if somebody's being really vulgar or very mean to somebody within the classroom. They can tell somebody when they're there, but what happens the minute that they walk off campus?
Right, and the kids who are online are younger and younger. I mean, you could be 10 years
Correct.
old and have your own phone and you're bullied day and night, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and one of our biggest areas of victims actually is very, very young girls, 12, 13-year-old suicide victims. Girls taking their own lives at 12 because for some reason it has gotten so
Nasty.
bad.
Yeah.
And people, our whole society, we really need to join together and embrace the fact that it doesn't matter who you are, nobody deserves to be treated that way. It doesn't matter what age you are. And quite frankly, when you take it outside of the face-to-face, people tend to get even more vile
Right.
when they're
Behind
not face-to-face.
Behind the,
It's easy to
social
hide, right?
media component.
And it's true no matter, this goes, and so hopefully this will create an environment that the next generation will grow up with an understanding of this is not acceptable.
This is not
Yeah.
right.
This is not how you treat people, and it's not just wrong. It's kind of evil to do that, no matter what you're doing, because you hurt people. You really honestly change
And
lives.
the bill does, and this is not, in the legislature sometimes we have issues trying to bring, have parents be part of the solutions. This bill says you have to be part of the solution. That parent will be contacted. The parent will be sitting down with those, administrators and teachers, because they're running out of ideas. To your point, it's happening outside of the school now. What do we do when it happens outside and it comes back the next morning with that child depressed? And we've had, I heard from superintendents in rural Utah of cases that are devastating. And
Wow.
and you're thinking, and these are 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds. And, you didn't think about, at least when I was growing up, that was not the case. Things are changing and we need to acknowledge that. And by having a proactive approach in education, to your point, we may be in the next generation where this is unacceptable, like wearing a seatbelt or smoking, right?
Yeah.
Our conversations are very different from 20 years ago.
And it's not the population you think either. You have a lot more boys that commit suicide than girls.
Yes.
It's really changed. A lot more boys drop out of school. A lot more boys never go on to college. And so having better information, because the previous generation, that's not how it was. That's
Right.
not what they're thinking. They're completely uninformed about the risks and who's at risk. And so a big part of this, honestly, really is letting people know.
And I want to do a plug because also Representative Hutchings helped a lot on this, and that's the funding of. We have actually a live a line where you can get help, and it's Save UT. And you can download your app on your cell phone, and young people now communicate via texting or messaging instead of over the phone. So you can either call, there's a 1-800 number, or you can text to, Save UT. That's the app that you can
Save
download.
UT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Cool.
SAFE, safe, yeah.
Safe, SAFE.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's anonymous, but there's a panic button on there. So
Yes.
if you have a kid who's in crisis, they literally just open the app, hit the button, or if they know of somebody who's in crisis, they open the app, they hit the button, they say, hey, my friend is...
It's talking about suicide. So we've had,
Wow.
just to let you know, this is so powerful. I was with the governor, bill signing at a Riverton Middle School. 300 kids, very nice, powerful. At the end, there's a young man waiting for me and just said, thank you for plugging the app. I downloaded that app a couple of weeks ago, and one of my friends that was sitting here today attempted suicide last week. These are middle school kids. And said because of the app, I was able to call, and they were able to contact parents. Parents came in and saved the whole situation.
Wow.
You're sitting there and it's
Proof.
heartbreaking. Proof. So I really, this is a Utah thing. It's a Save UTA app. Download the app. We have experts, licensed social workers, crisis intervention team ready from our uni psych unit at the University of Utah, ready to help those young people or anyone that contacts that app. So please use that.
Say it. Wonderful. So we're almost out of time. So I just want to ask you real quickly, what do you do when the legislative session's over? What's the first thing you go do? I mean, is it like you want to go skiing? You want to just sleep for a week?
Sleep.
Sleep for a week?
Lots
Yes,
of sleep.
and not answer a phone call. It's
Not
hard
answer.
to detach from the phone, right? Because we're 24/7. We're getting thousands of emails. We won't talk about Article 5 convention and the 3,000 emails we were getting an hour that saturated our system. It did, our email. From out-of-state people, it was a
Right.
little bit off. But yeah, I mean, I think disconnecting takes a while, and then you go through this process where you're exhausted.
Yeah.
So I mean, to your point, it's like sleeping, but it takes me like 2 days to get to the point where I'm like, okay, it's over. I can breathe and sleep and be with family. We do. I mean, I miss my family, my children. We hardly see them. It's tough. It's a lot of work.
So come back and talk again.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Any hot bills for next year that we should think about now, real quickly? Except tax reform?
Well, tax reform will be there for sure.
Okay.
More education stuff, and
Okay.
the bills that we couldn't pass, we're gonna bring them back.
Very good. Thank you to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on Community Roundtable. For information about all Salt Lake Community College academic and community programs, about all information about student resources, upcoming campus events, it's very simple. Go to slcc.edu. We'll see you next time on Community Roundtable. I'm Nick Burns. Keep watching SLCC TV.